Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarfy Spurs Talks Premier League show. I am doing a Park Lane podcast takeover tonight. Harry has wonderfully let me come back on after Monday's show as well. So tonight we will be reviewing all of Matchday 5 because Harry typed it in wrong online. It was meant to be a preview of Matchday 6, so we will cover both elements if we get a chance tonight. So obviously I have some wonderful guests as always. So Luke, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Lovely stuff. And Billy, obviously, me and you have already done one show this week for Harry, so might as well get another one in. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very good, mate. Looking forward to talking something about a bit different. Arsenal Man City game, not much to talk about in that one, is there? No talking points, so it should be a nice quick one.
Oh, that's been a fun talking point for the last couple of days, hasn't it, in terms of injuries and PMGOL, so we will get there. And pretty much, Barney, you're here to keep me in line, meant to make sure that I don't ruin Harry's channel for him, so how you doing, mate?
Love it. Yeah, we'll be good. I'm doing well, mate. Nice to be here and looking forward to talking about football.
Wonderful stuff. So let's jump right into it. So it is a nice, easy early game for us. Chelsea West Ham on a Saturday midday to 12:30 kickoff, depending on where you are in the world. So, Billy, how did it go for it? How did it go for them?
Well, from a Tottenham perspective, not great because I despise Chelsea. They're arguably my most hated team, but West Ham are just awful. They were absolutely shocking. And what they scored within, was it 30 seconds? Jackson scored within, or something like that, wasn't it, or something like that? And
no, that was our game against Brentford, mate. We can't shift that one. But they were definitely 1-0 down within 4 minutes. So I mean, it's not too bad. But I
thought West Ham were really poor.
Yeah, it's definitely one of them where they tried to go and get Lopetegui in, thought it was going to be a nice revolution, and instead that revolution has turned into worse than seeing Moisey play at the moment.
And this is my thing, Kallum, that you'll agree with here. They never do that against us, do they? They would never gift us goals like that. They never put in that kind of performance against us. And we'll never get an easy win there like all the other London clubs seem to get. That will never, ever happen to us.
They just roll over for anyone else, apart from Spurs, because that's their cup final every single year. So, boys, do we think that this is one of them ones where it's a blip in the road for West Ham or Chelsea are getting better? Barney, what do you think?
I think West Ham have had a very poor start to the season. What's that, their third consecutive home loss? They just haven't appeared it so far this season. They got very, very lucky against us. We were all over them continuously throughout the game, and we got punished just through one moment of madness. But in truth be told, we should have been outside with that game. I don't think they're improving. Is that being harsh? They just don't look like a side with direction. Chelsea were all over them because I watched the game at Craven Cottage before our game against Newcastle. I watched the whole thing, and they just seemed lackluster, flat, no ideas, nothing going forward, and just Chelsea just dictated the whole game.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I was listening to it on the radio, and it wasn't positive listening at all. It was very much one-way traffic. Luke, do you think this is a rolling doors moment for Chelsea to keep going forward, or do you think this is just another farcical of a team that don't know which way's up?
Well, the concerning thing is if you give players like Nicholas Jackson the space to run right into the box and then put it straight through your keeper's legs, then you're going to look better than probably you actually are. If a team actually set up and put players in a block and didn't actually allow them to have runners off the ball into space, they might find games a bit more difficult. But West Ham left way too much space in the back line. And then Areola, I've never been convinced of him as a goalkeeper anyway. But to leave a gap that a double-decker bus could drive through in there, it's shocking. Like, you clearly have a Premier League goalkeeper. You're letting Jackson slide the ball between your legs.
It don't really compute, does it, mate, at all? And I mean, every time that I saw it, that everyone was saying Chelsea were putting the West Ham back line to pretty much they were just hammering in. And I think it was just a foregone conclusion, won't it? Because if you've got something where it's 3-0 as a home loss for West Ham, it's quite embarrassing, especially as it's not even their stadium and they're only renting it anyway. So that was a fun way to start the day. And then we get to our nice 3:00 kickoffs. So we're going to go to I would say the Midlands to start off with. So Villa Wolves, that ended in a lovely 3-1 win for Villa. Anyone watched it? Anyone think the Villa are going well? Anyone think Wolves are all over the place again? What's your thought, boys?
I didn't watch it, but the same happened that's been happening to all Villa games recently is where they went behind for ages. And then I thought, oh, nice, Villa have dropped some points here. And then I turn over, I come back to it, and they're suddenly 3-1 up. It's happened to the last 3 or 4 games that they've gone behind and gone up. I'm not massively convinced by them at this point. They seem to be sort of scraping wins rather than dominating games like they were last season. I think they've been behind in their last 2 or 3 league games now. But they keep finding a way. And I think Duran is an absolutely brilliant player. He looks a real player at the moment, and Rodgers that they have as well. I don't think Watkins is quite caught a light to what he was like last season yet, but it'd be interesting to see how they go in the Champions League, because I think John McGinn's just got injured, which obviously happens when you play European football and then the Premier League game and then European football and then Carabao Cup and all these games. So it'd be interesting to see how they react to that. But yeah, fair play. They keep getting the wins.
That's the thing. Even I think was it last night that they ground. It was either last night or the night before they ground out another win in the cup
and
game, didn't they?
They got battered in that game as well. They were. I watched that one actually rather than the Premier League one, but Wickham were absolutely all over them.
Yeah, I think when I looked at their bench, I was like, I don't know half of these players. I thought it was like watching a Chelsea team bench. Let's put it that way. But they definitely found a way of grinding it out. So I mean, Barney, it kind of looks like the Wolves are on a downwards trajectory again, and they've sold a number of other good players again, and the club is just not investing money into it. Do you think there's a way out for them, or do you think they're going to be bottom half again of the table?
It always worries me when a side goes down, selling players. I mean, they're a good side, Wolves. I always felt that they could challenge for Europe in a season or two after coming up from the Championship. They've always had something about them, and obviously, they won't be too pleased with this result going ahead. Matthias given the lead against Villa, you'd think they'd be able to sort of get something from the game, but Villa, we know what they're like. They can make chances out of anything. They left it late, but once they got that equaliser, I thought they're going to go on and win this. I watched some of the game. I didn't watch it all, but the last 20 minutes was pretty much all Villa. I thought they were just pressing and got their just rewards. I don't think Wolves will struggle. No, I don't think they'll struggle, but I can't see them finishing any higher than sort of 13th, 14th, 15th.
But do you think Villa's got enough about them to compete on multiple fronts with their squad? I mean, even the people they got in to replace David Luiz have gone out alone, haven't they?
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. Jury's out on that. I think it could be 50-50. The challenge for Europe, I'm not so sure.
No, I appreciate that, mate. And Luke, obviously, Villa keep grinding out the results, like the guys keep saying. So, I mean, do you think it can keep going, or do you think that they will eventually come unstuck around Christmas and the injuries will mount up?
I think Villa will be the same as what Newcastle were when they were in the Europe last year. They looked decent right up until they left Europe, and then they just slid further and further down towards kind of the top of mid-table, let's say. Playing in Europe, not being able to spend as much as they'd probably want to with the capacity they've got, has probably not helped in that regard. Wolves, for me, they're a very kind of difficult side to play until they come up against a decent side. Like, we played them at home a couple of games ago, and really, one, we slacked off, but two, they actually made it a little bit difficult with keeping on attacking. They've got some decent movement up front. It's just whether they can actually keep it tighter at the back, because they were shocking in the game before us, before they played Forest. So yeah, I think it all depends on kind of one, the injuries for Villa, if they can keep the players fit, but then also it depends on kind of Wolves' defence and how well they'll do.
No, I get where you're coming from, mate. I love your statement where you say that Wolves come unstuck when they come up against a decent team. How come Spurs can never beat them? We can't beat them for God knows how many seasons now. We keep losing to them. What are you trying to say about us, mate? What are you trying to say? Oh, right. So let's move on to one of our hosts' games of the weekend. Fulham Newcastle. Mr. Barney. How was it down in Craven Cottage?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games you think, well, I'll start because I went there, I wrote extensive notes for this. We don't have a good record against Newcastle. I'll say that first and foremost. You know, they've had the upper hand, a bit of luck in the last few seasons. So I was really apprehensive before the game, thinking, this, early goal especially could put a totally different complexion on the game. And it almost happened. They did score early, but thankfully it was offside. And it was the correct decision, mind. And then from that moment, it seemed to sort of wake us up and kickstart us. Suddenly we got our sort of passing together again. And we were sort of playing out from the back, attacking down the wings. And I think it was about 44 seconds later, a great cross in Zama Traore and for Al to score on the turn and shoot. It's a terrific goal. Snap and shoot. I thought, at this stage, I thought we were going to go and score again, really quickly. And we did. Emil Smith Rowe had a great shot from the edge of the area. Pope should have done better, mind. But I think the ball hit his hand and it sort of spun. I don't know if you saw that. It hit his hand and it sort of spun off his hand and went in. So had that not gone in, you never know. It could have motivated Newcastle to press a little bit more, but that was 2-0. So I'm thinking, right, okay, this is good. It's going to be a cricket score. Famous last words. 28 seconds after the restart, Newcastle score. And I'm thinking, here we go, West Ham all over again. We lost our shape for a little bit. We looked a bit confused. We were panicking a bit. Anderson, a terrific centre back. His long range passing is pinpoint. We know we really missed that presence, if you like, that authority at the back. And he was dictating that back line superbly. He was finding the wings. We were attacking down the left and the right. The midfield was controlling Luick and Sander Berge when he came on. Solid. I really rate him. And I'm thinking, we keep missing these chances. That's our problem, Kallum. We make all these chances in the games, and we should have been out of sight. We should have scored 5 or 6. No disrespect to Newcastle, but we should. They battled well, and Isaac had a chance or two. It could have been 2-2, and then I don't know what Bruno was doing. Goodness me, that error. He passed straight to Nelson and just hit it into an empty net in injury time to kill the game. Deserved, yes. Newcastle weren't at their best, but I just think we were better.
No, Fulham are definitely spreading the goals around this season because, I mean, you obviously from January had Brozier, who didn't really get going. That's what you binned him off. Luca hasn't really taken off yet, has he, up front for you guys? And obviously, I'm not going to praise him. Smith Rowe is an Arsenal boy, and so is Reece Nelson. So I won't praise them from a Spurs point of view, but I will say that they do look like decent acquisitions for Fulham. They look like they will do something. One permanent, one on loan. But it just shows that Newcastle as well are on a very much spiral course of going up and down, and they'll have a brilliant game like they did against Spurs. Seems like everyone does at the moment to make me and Billy's weekends bad, and then they'll go to somewhere else, and then they get done in and all that. But obviously, Barnes was the scorer for Newcastle, and I think pretty much most of the top 6 would take Barnes for at least a squad player, to be honest, because he is a class player. So, Luke, did you watch any of the highlights from the game, or did you see any of the output for it at all?
All I know is who scored. I didn't get to watch the highlights of that one. But I've been impressed with Smith Rowe since he's gone to Fulham. he looks like he's hit it straight off. It's like one of the players that just connects with the squad, and it's like real smart business, like it's properly been scouted. As with Reece Nelson, I think Fulham definitely needed players that can get the ball up the field, and I'm literally talking from the last time they played at the City ground because that's basically still in my mind. I wonder why, but I think my only worry with Fulham is defensively if they've actually shored it up at the back and can actually maintain that across a good amount of games, because I think you can look good in one game and then not look so good in the next. So let's see if it can be consistent.
Yeah, agree.
I'll follow you on that line, mate. For both of you as well, and also Billy, do you guys think potentially with the form that Smith Rowe and Nelson are doing, do you think potential England call-ups or recalls for them? Do you think they could be up and coming for the next tournament coming up? Whether it be, I think it's the Nations League, which I think is pointless anyway. So I don't know whether the caps will count, but do you think if they play well, they could get called up?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm guessing that both have worked with Carsley before as well. And now that Southgate's gone, it's an open door again. When Southgate used to be a pretty shut up shop, didn't he? He just used to have his favourites and stick to them quite often. But Carsley, I think, is going to try and freshen things up. And I hate to admit it, but Smith Rowe has been an excellent signing. And I've even hate to admit it's even more that I've had to put him in my fantasy football team. I have a strict no Arsenal player policy, but I've just kind of circumnavigated with the fact that he's no longer Arsenal. But yeah, I think it's an excellent signing. And as I've said before, I do have a soft spot for Fulham because one of my best friends is a big Fulham fan. And I think the manager's underrated. I think he's doing a good job, Marco Silva. I think he gets him playing good football. I saw a couple of stats go around that Tottenham are in the graphic for, and Fulham are right up there as well in terms of the best football in the league. So yeah, I think that's a really big win against Newcastle, and I'm glad Newcastle got it coming to them, to be honest, because they're a bit like Aston Villa. I don't think they've been playing well this season at all, but they keep grinding out results. I think that's their first loss of the season, in fact, when they haven't really been playing anywhere near good enough to warrant that. So I think the form finally caught up with Newcastle. And I think they probably due a few more defeats this season because I'm not been impressed with them at all.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that leaves to be desired watching Newcastle, to be honest. In some of the games, they are very hit and hope on it. But obviously, you guys have made a valid point. Can have Fulham actually improve their defence as well? Can they keep going? Can they maintain their form going forward? Or will it happen like it usually does with Fulham, a couple of bad results, and they end up having to start again as well? So we will see going forward. So I will jump forward a couple of results quickly because there was obviously the Liverpool-Bournemouth game, and that ended in a 3-0 battering, I have to say, from all the stats against Bournemouth. They didn't look like they had much going for them. Obviously, last weekend, Liverpool had a mighty loss to Forest. So, Luke, I'll bring you in quickly on that. So, obviously, we're jumping back a week, but how does it feel to see you guys win and them lose Anfield for them to then bounce back to beat Bournemouth there as well?
I mean, beating Liverpool at Anfield's clearly not for everyone, and putting the
Definitely not for
players
us, is it, Kallum? Definitely not for us, mate. Never
Well,
done it in my lifetime.
I don't even know where Anfield is, to be honest. We've never got anything from it.
but on a serious point, we went there and we looked at where their strengths were, and really, the players were sat across in two banks, more or less, of 4 and a 5, and we blocked the spaces up. We really only had about 4 or 5 precarious moments that were then dealt with by either Sells or somebody else in the back line. Bournemouth, to me, seemed like they went with the game plan of being open, playing into Arne Slot's way of playing. And I hope he's happy that he came up against a side that actually allowed them to play their game, because I know he was absolutely well annoyed that we went there and didn't play the perfect game for them. and managed to get the result. We've shown teams what to do in an attempt to get a result at Anfield. Whether the teams actually follow that blueprint, that's down to their management.
No, exactly, mate, exactly. And I mean, Barney, if I come to you, so I mean, obviously, like Luke was saying, there was a blueprint that could have been followed, and it looks like Bournemouth tried to go toe to toe with them. They tried to meet pace and power up front in their forward line with their own pace and power as well against Liverpool's. And unfortunately, it did come unstuck. But the stats weren't that bad for Bournemouth. They did have upwards of 14 shots, only 6 on target. But when you then convert that with Liverpool having 13 shots on target, you have to feel for the Bournemouth goalkeeper, don't you?
You do have to feel for them. I mean, it's always very tricky going toe to toe with Liverpool. I mean, going back to what Luke said, and obviously their result, our record at Anfield is, well, terrible. I'm not going to go there. So if you're going to go toe to toe with Liverpool, you want to at least take your chances if you get any, which doesn't happen very often for us. And unfortunately for Bournemouth, didn't happen for them. I mean, Liverpool with the class in midfield. I mean, when you're going to go toe to toe with that kind of quality, I'm afraid to say, with all due respect to Bournemouth, you're always going to come off second best. Because I thought Liverpool just turned the screw. Really, I didn't watch too much of the game, but from the bits I saw, they just looked clinical, just a bit more sort of sharper up for it, and deserving of the win really. And Bournemouth will, I don't think, can have too many complaints about that result.
No, I think Bournemouth will take stuff away from it, and knowing that they've still got building blocks to go forward with. But obviously, both teams are still in transition. You've got Areola, he's had a year there now. He seems to be doing all right. Bournemouth have some good players as well, but they have lost some big players in the summer. And Liverpool are very much up and down as well. So you've definitely got to be realistic, knowing that when Champions League starts for Liverpool, that will be the big test for them, I think, going forward. So
Yeah,
if
definitely.
we jump onto a game very much close to mine and Billy's heart, the Tottenham Brentford game, and we did cover it the other night, but I want to get some neutral views as well from it. So, Barney, did you see any of the Tottenham Brentford game at all?
I saw a little bit of it because I was talking to Harry a little bit because he was at the game, and it was great to see Solanke, get that goal for him. It'll give him a world of confidence. I think it's all about confidence when you're a striker and you go through a barren spell, or just you haven't got that first goal yet. Speaking as a Fulham fan, I know this, seeing our own strikers, a goal can make all the difference. So hopefully that pushes him on a bit. London derby is always tricky to call, but I felt Spurs being at home, the expectation, if you like, to go and put on a show for the home fans. Once again, Son, 2 assists. I love him. I love Son. He's my favourite Spurs player and always will be. I could just watch him all day. And I tell anyone that. So I think Brentford could have, not too many complaints about the result. They battled at moments, but Spurs just turned it on. Johnson, Maddison, they got the goals, and they just seemed just to see out the game.
Yeah, exactly, mate, exactly. But Luke, if I come to you, it was an embarrassing start for Spurs where we did concede the quickest Premier League goal of the season at 20 minutes. Seems to be 2 weekends in a row that Brentford have done with this against us and City. So what makes them so good at scoring so early?
Johan Visa, probably under press. And the fact that there are glaring holes in both of the defences they played against. I mean, I'm not that convinced with Man City at the back. I never have been. I think they're great going the other way, but they definitely, if you press onto them and around their kind of back four and the keeper, there's still vulnerabilities there. And I think with it, Thomas Frank knows what he's doing with the side and will look at a vulnerability and try to catch them there. It's just whether they can maintain it throughout the whole game, which evidently they couldn't do against Spurs. I'm glad that Brennan Johnson scored again after his cup goal. because I don't agree with all the criticism that seems to be coming towards Brennan Johnson's way at the minute. His performances, from what I've seen, are fairly similar to the ones he was putting in for Forest. So if any Spurs fans had seen him play for Forest, they'd have known what they were getting before they even dropped in. And I think that it falls into the category of every club seems to like having a scapegoat player. And I think Johnson's suddenly become that at Spurs.
No, I think that's a very valid point, mate. So yeah, Billy, if I bring you in, do you think this was a good chance for Brennan Johnson to prove the doubters wrong on the back of a very decent cup appearance as well against Coventry, and backing up what Luke said as well?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Because it's one thing doing against a championship team that made a lot of changes as well. Even though you wouldn't know that from the way they outplayed us most of that game, but then to do it in the Premier League straight after is really good. And I think the goal was an excellent goal as well. It was a really, really good finish. He scored he's really good at getting across the back post for us and getting a tap in. But this was a really good winger's goal. Really good finish. And I like to see him give it back a little bit, in the celebration and stuff. I think it's obviously been a big talking point for players. I know that obviously me and you will know, but probably other people won't. There was a big thing over the couple of days because there's a bit of a fans forum at Tottenham with Son and Postecoglou, and our chairman interviewed, and that came up then as well. So it's obviously been on the players' minds a lot, and it's really big for him. And we don't have many other wingers at the moment due to injuries, so he's going to be getting an extended run of games for sure. I'm sure he'll play tomorrow night as well against Karabag, and I hope he starts banging in the goals because it'd be great for us.
There's definitely a good player there, because I mean, you don't go through the whole of the Forest Youth Academy and get something like that, do you? You need to be at least a decent player to do it, and he was doing it for Forest. He's obviously then come to Spurs. I know big price tag, but he's definitely shown what he can do. So I mean, Luke, obviously, like you said, he's definitely got good games and bad games in him, hasn't he? And all that. You just need to back up your player, don't you?
Yeah, he was a bit inconsistent in the first half of the season when we first came into the Premier League, and then again, a bit towards the back end. But I think you've got a dynamic duo in the Spurs ranks of Spence and Johnson that if you play them together, it's automatically a thing that they know where they're going to run. So, to be honest, I think with Johnson, yeah, he's going to put a ball across the box and somebody's not going to get there. That's not on Johnson. That's on the players running into the box. But he could also beat 4, 5, 6 players and put it in the corner. That's a Johnson. And I also think that Spurs, they play right up to Johnson. Whereas really, Johnson's more of a put the ball in front of him, he'll roast players. If you watch majority of his goals for Forest, we slid the ball so it was in front of him. He was already running onto it, and then he goes in and creates something. So it might just be the fact that Postecoglou's way of setting it up to play to Johnson isn't quite his natural game. So he's having to adapt, and then he's getting criticised for it as well. I mean, come on, he can only do so much as a player, and he's one man, and then the next guy and the next guy have to make sure that they're also doing their jobs to make the wide player's job effective.
And also, Saturday takes his goals assist tally in the last season and 5 games up to 16, which is pretty decent, really. It's more than Martinelli and more than quite a few other wingers in the Premier League. He's got 10 assists and six goals now in a season and a bit. With the criticism that he gets, you'd think they would be on sort of, way less than that. So he can definitely be a productive player, I think. And I think he'll get more than that this season. He'll probably want to improve on the goals, 5 Premier League goals. But the 10 assists last season, that tells you a lot about the kind of player that he is. That, double figure assists is decent for any winger, really.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. So let's jump on to one of the more quieter games But yeah, Billy, you've got to jump, mate. So thanks very much
See you
for
guys.
coming
Thank you
on.
very much. I hope to see you again soon,
All the
guys.
best, Billy.
See you, mate. Take care. Have a
See you,
good
mate.
one.
See you guys.
Right, so gentlemen, let's go to the South Coast. Nice sunny Southampton, where one of my mates got up in the morning, drove down at 8 o'clock to come back nearly crying at 7 o'clock in the evening. So that was an interesting one for him. But so obviously Southampton scored first. They scored through Tyler Dibbling, who I think looks like a class player, and I think he's only 18 as well. So he seems like one of the breakthrough prospects for the Premier League. I know he had a good season last year in the Championship, so he's definitely someone who's come up. And whenever you get newly promoted teams coming up, you know you're going to have an interesting game because they've probably played each other the season before. They've got a point to prove that they can actually survive as well. And I thought this had a good wild card effect to it for one of the daily fixtures. If anything, it didn't really end like that, did it, Barney?
It was a bit of an anticlimax, to be honest. I watched a bit of it, and when we came up from the Championship to the Premier League, and Luke will be able to back me up on this. When you go up with the sides, those are the ones that you first look to when the fixtures come out, or saying, right, you identify certain games that you have to win if you want to stay in the Premier League. And it's no different for Southampton and Ipswich. They'll be both wanting to win that. And a point's no good for either of them because it's a tough league. We all know the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting bigger and bigger. And I always think sometimes these games don't live up to expectations. Obviously, no disrespect to either club, but it's the guy you mentioned, Kallum. Yeah, he looks really good. Who scored the Southampton goal? I was impressed with him. I watched a little bit of highlights on the EFL, highlight show because obviously Chris, being a Derby County fan, he watches it all the time. So I watched the Championship highlights, and I watched last season him. That's what I meant to say. Apologies, but they just one of those games that just petered out. There's not really much you can say. I mean, Southampton will feel aggrieved that Ipswich scored late on. That should have been a win for Southampton. So 2 points drop for them.
Because that would have been their first win of the season, wouldn't it? That would have been their first points in the Premier League for over a year and nearly a half now.
Are they on a point, Southampton, at the moment?
I believe so, yeah. Let me just have a look at the table quickly. I believe they are floating around.
That was their first point.
Yeah, that was their first point with a really negative goal difference. So,
yeah.
And
not good.
No, exactly. So, Luke, if I come to you, so it was a very dead game, and then Neil Maupay steps up in 90+5. I mean, this geezer's like a turd that won't flush, to be honest. He won't go. He just always pops up around everywhere. He's been across most of the London clubs. He's been up north. Now he's ended up in Suffolk, and he's scored on the South Coast. I mean, do you rate Neil Maupay?
No, not since he went from Brentford. I think Thomas Frank knew how to get the tune out of him, and I think every manager struggled. Maybe Kieran McKenna can see something within the squad he's got that brings it out a bit more. I thought as a whole, Southampton and Ipswich was a bit of a muchness game. And just to back up Barney's point, yeah, we do look at the newly promoted side when we go up. The only problem is we take the lead with 2 goals in both games when we came up and end up losing them 3-2. Thanks for the reminder.
I think you just run out of steam, don't you, mate? In the end, it's one of them where all the newly promoted teams, they had to obviously both Forest and Fulham have had to do it in the last couple of seasons. You've had to build a whole new setup to make sure you're ready. So you buy the best players from the Championship and sort of the best players from the lower end of the Premier League, don't you, to try and establish a solid core base. And obviously Southampton and Ipswich have both done that. They've gone very much homegrown players or players that have Premier League and Championship experience. But the problem is you're 5 games in and you're trying to meld squads and they just look very disjointed. It doesn't look like there's any free-flowing football. Yeah, they score breakaway goals. They do. They score late goals as well, and they have a little bit of excitement about them. But whereas they've been the best teams in the Championship, they are now the smallest clubs in the Premier League in terms of being there ready to go sort of thing. They've definitely got to fight hard. And like Barney said, it's 2 points dropped for Southampton, whereas I'd say Ipswich is probably happy with that because at the end of the day, it's gotten them out of the relegation zone. I know it's only week 5, but it's got them out of there as well. So, and to pop up with a 90+5 equaliser, it has to be questioned why have Southampton let that happen, to be honest, as well. So if we jump onto the final game of the Saturday, which was Crystal Palace versus Man United, I was listening to it while driving, and to be honest, if I'd have driven my car into something, it probably would have been more exciting than that game. Let's put it this way. So, Barney, if I come to you first on this one, mate.
Yeah, well, I was actually out at the same time this game was going on, so I only saw snippets of it, so I can't give a really sort of accurate analysis. But Crystal Palace, I can say I think they'll be happy with that point. I mean, it didn't seem a game that really had a 0-0 on it when I sort of saw it before it started. I thought Man United could actually go and get a result at Selhurst Park, but I guess if you look at the bigger picture, the Palace manager will like that point more than the Man United manager. I mean, it's a clean sheet. Palace, they're a decent side. Man United haven't had the best of starts, as we know, by their standards. And I spoke to a few people after the game. There's generally not much I can say in terms of the chances. It just seemed to sort of peter out, if that makes sense. It didn't sort of have a quality of either side. I didn't sort of, pick up on any kind of willingness of either side to actually just go and press ahead and try and win. That's the impression I got.
Yeah, it definitely compacted, I think, in the second half where not many people were taking the chances to go forward. Luke, did you watch any of the game at all, or did you hear any of the highlights? What do you think?
Unfortunately, I had the misfortune of watching the whole 90 minutes. That's 90 minutes of my life I will not get back. I have to admit, Manchester United are a bang average side with like 2 good players, if we're being kind.
Who are they?
Mainly, Mainu being one of them, but I think Crystal Palace will probably be disappointed in the end not to actually go and nick it, because to be fair, Manchester United are not anywhere near this kind of level they once were, and I actually think they're beatable. For any side that's assembled a decent squad of attacking players, they are beatable. So, yeah, a point is okay, but if I was a Palace fan, I'd be disappointed.
I think I'll make you right on that one, mate, because obviously there was some controversy in the game where Lisandro Martinez did do his two-footed challenge, where he only got a yellow card, and the Premier League did come out and say that it was a reckless challenge, but because there was no contact made, it was just put down as reckless, not with intent to harm for it as well. I mean, did you think it was a red or was it a yellow?
I don't actually remember the incident, but it just makes me laugh that now it's got to be reckless with intent to harm when it comes to a red card. If it's reckless, it's a red card. Like, let's be serious. Like, if he's 2-footed him off the ground, then yeah, that's a red card. Whether he
Exactly.
connected or not, the intent the intent to make the tackle was clearly there, and if he did connect, he probably would have caused the player harm. So, like, I'll save my little official rant thing for in a few minutes, but yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
No, completely
Love it.
get it, mate. Barney, you got anything else to add on that one, mate? Or
No, I just echo everything what Luke said. It's just one of those things, really. I think Man United are beatable. They are. I was bitterly disappointed. The fact that we went away from Old Trafford is nothing. They're just obviously, all due respect to my Man United friends, they are not the feared side they once were, and I just think sides now know how to sort of get at them. It's as simple as that. And I think, yeah, I do think, Luke, you're right. Palace will look on that as 2 points dropped being at home.
No, completely agree. Completely agree. So let's move on to Sunday. And I know this one got very personal for one of my glamorous co-hosts tonight. And I can definitely see that that rant is coming. So we go down to the south coast again. We are down there. It's a lovely sunny day in Brighton at the Amex Stadium. And it did end up in a 2-2 draw with controversy on both sides for Brighton and Forest. Luke, I'll let you have the floor, mate.
So, first of all, it was a great run by Gibbs White to get the penalty to put it back to Hudson-Odoi, who got basically brought down by Belieber. Any Brighton fan that tells me that that's not a penalty, they're wrong. And it was brilliantly dispatched by Chris Wood. We all thought Gibbs White was going to take the penalty. So the fact that Wood decided to take it was a great shock. But that guy can definitely take a penalty. He should be able to take it all season. Then we did the classic Forest thing, where we just fall asleep after we've taken the lead. Every time we've taken the lead, apart from the away games against Liverpool and Southampton, we then end up going to sleep and trying to just think we can hold on to it, and we don't, because invariably we then get done by a Van Hecker ball into the box, and Hinshelwood's headed that brilliant ball into the top corner. No keeper was ever going to save that. Coming on to goalkeepers, free kicks. Danny Welbeck gets a free kick. Matt Sells assembles his wall where it's in totally the wrong place. He's got hardly anybody of any height in the right place in the wall. And then he stands directly behind said wall, which means that when Danny Welbeck whips the ball round the wall, it goes straight in because Matt Sells cannot set himself quickly enough to go to the other way, and it's 2-1. So we go in at half time 2-1, and we come out and make 3 changes at half time. Nico Williams comes on, as well as Ryan Yates and Jota Silva, but they're the meaningless two that come on. I'll talk about Jota Silva in a minute. Nico Williams, the first 60 seconds of his involvement, handball, yellow card. Brilliant. So we switch Ola Aina to the other side so that he's not facing Matoma on a yellow card. And then Nico Williams gets a yellow card in the first 60 seconds against Matoma. Cool. Then Gibbs White manages to get the ball, slides it through to Jota Silva. I mean, brilliant counter-attacking players, both Silva and Ramon Sosa. And they connect well for the equaliser. Then we cue the officials show, as I crown it. Gibbs White goes in for a tackle on João Pedro on a yellow card. Yes, ridiculous tackle on a yellow card. One that I think Gibbs White will always go and make the tackle for because he's that type of player. But yes, it's a second yellow card and a sending off type thing with the way that football is going. What I don't like about it is how Rob Jones initially decides to go, he's won the ball, and he signals for a throw. Then Anthony Taylor overrules the referee and goes, that's the second yellow card and a free kick, so that's what gets given, which ultimately then leads to the encroachment during that whole discussion from Fabian Hertzler. So Fabian Hertzler gets sent off for encroaching on a decision that then was overturned by the fourth official, but he still got sent off anyway. So that could have been a needless decision that needed to be made in the game. Yet, because of the referee's incompetence, Brighton's manager now is not on the sidelines for the next game. And then you watch the replay, where Gibbs White walks across. You can see Anthony Taylor mouth, Nuno should go as well. And all right, Nuno does lose it a little bit, but when you go from he's won the ball throw in to free kick, yellow card, and a sending off, you can probably gather the reaction that's going to come from the bench. And all right, it's totally laughable the amount of inconsistencies within refereeing. Because again, apologies, I don't remember the Brighton player, but I think it was a Dingra, makes a tackle. I say tackle. It was studs up into the back of Alex Moreno's calf. I don't even think it was. I think it was just given as a free kick. I don't even think it was booked. So that really probably should have been looked at by VAR as a red card tackle, because it was studs into the back of the calf. But you can send off Gibbs White when you've initially gone, you've won the ball.
The thing is, VAR should never have gotten involved in the Gibbs White one anyway, because they're not allowed to get involved in yellow card. So it's all about fourth official, weren't it?
Yeah, Anthony Taylor's the fourth official. But what I was saying was that initially you got a tackle that wasn't even given when a second referee was allowed to look at it. Then on a tackle that was justified, but then was given, you're just like, do you guys even do anything during the week when you're not reffing?
Probably sit in Stockley Park doing nothing, to be honest, most of the time. So, Barney, if I bring you in on this, mate, did you watch any of the game? Do you feel that Luke is correct in his agreement with it?
Oh, he's totally correct in his agreement. I watched a bit of the highlights because it just looked an exciting game. I sort of just saw the headlines, both managers off. I thought, I've got to look at this, because knowing that we're facing Forest next, my first reaction, sorry, Luke, apologies. Oh, Gibbs White's going to be suspended for Fulham. So that was my first reaction. So I watched the game back, and goodness me, wow, decisions. You're right. I saw him when he went, he's got the ball like that. I thought, okay, he's made his decision. There should be case closed. At that point, no one should intervene. The official's decision should be final. You can see him do it. So I can understand it's a passionate game. We all know that. Yeah, you're going to get worked up, and I understand your frustration, Luke, totally. It was a crazy game, to be honest. Probably on the balance of play, a 2-2 draw was about right, but marred by some crazy antics that I just have not seen for a long time.
It definitely had that handbag factor to it, didn't it? A little bit.
But just to clarify though, I'm not saying that the red cards or anything are my main agreements with it. My main agreement is for the fact that we stopped playing after we scored the first goal, to the point that we had to make 3 changes at half time, and then went and then equalised, and then we're in a position where we really couldn't get going. The performance from us first is my main grievance, but then another refereeing decision basically then becomes the main talking point of the game. Like, they want to make themselves the main superstars of the show.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate, because, I was watching the rolling commentary on Sky for it, and there was definitely you guys going ahead, which was probably a little bit against the run of play. Then Brighton came back into it, and like you said, Forest were being beaten back, and them enforced changes. If anything, they did nothing for you guys, did they? They didn't really have any input whatsoever on the game fully. And like you said, within 60 seconds, Williams getting booked. And I actually thought he was quite good against Liverpool last weekend. But even a Brighton team like that, I always have to appreciate Brighton because I think they are a very good outfit and they do back their managers. They do give them a chance. I don't think they'll do a lot, but I do like the way that they are as a team. So definitely that had the refs as the centre of attention, a lot of rash decisions and a lot of reckless conduct by coaching staff, by players as well on the field. And it's one of them games that will go down as something that they probably will teach referees of how to deal with stuff and how not to deal with stuff going forward. So if we jump on to the final game of the weekend, and that was our lovely late kickoff for our reigning champions of the Premier League and our tin pot runners up, as they did get there, as they did like to say, everyone, that they'd already won the league and then dropped it again for a second time. Good
How
evening,
rude to talk
Louis.
about Arsenal like that. How rude,
Oh,
actually.
what a shame. What a shame. They had their nice little banner, didn't they? And it all fell apart. And I saw it on eBay a couple of weeks ago. It was wonderful.
I'll be
And they-
brutally honest. I was just scheduling some posts for the page, and I thought, why not talk about the best game, the best moment of my life that happened on Sunday night.
Well,
That was
I'll let
honestly
you.
so good.
I'll let you take over, Louis. I'll let you go for it, mate. So give us your insight on the game, because it was definitely end-to-end handbag football again, and a lot of questionable decisions with some reckless conduct as well in it. Let's put it that way, and a major injury as well that could impact City going forward. So I'll let you go for it, mate.
Yeah, well, for the first 45, it was great football. Honestly, I didn't think that game would be entertaining, and I was on the edge of my seat really, because I generally thought that was a brilliant half of football, and well, I didn't think it would be like that at all. I generally thought it would be just very like two teams really bricking it because they don't want to make a mistake, and so I thought it would be really cagey. But there were two great teams going at it. Let's be brutally honest. But then Trossard made the stupid error of getting himself sent off, which ruined the whole game. And it did, because then what happened for the second half? We all know what happened. But what I'll say is, but I mean, I don't know what you guys think, if that was a booking or not, and to get himself sent off again. I do think it was, because he kicked the ball
By the
away.
rulings, it is. It has to be. And I mean, that's two in as matter of 3 games now, isn't it? Declan Rice got it and Trossard got it. If you're going to if you follow the rules that are in place this season, if you're on a yellow already and you act like an idiot and kick the ball away, you're off. Simple as that. And it doesn't matter that they're Arsenal players, because other teams have had it as well. If you're going to act like a twat, you're going. Simple as that. There's no
Yeah, but
way about
the
it.
thing is, their argument though is that I forgot who done it in the first half. Was it Jeremy Doku? He kicked the ball away in the first half, didn't he? And then he didn't get anything for it.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but I mean, simple as that. It's if you get a yellow card for it, and if it got missed, then the Premier League has to stand up and be accountable for it, don't they? But it's because Trossard got caught, and if he's already on a yellow, that's why he's gone and all that. Because if he'd have done it and he weren't on a yellow, he'd have just got a yellow card. Simple as that. And they would still be complaining, but he wouldn't have gone. But he knew what he was doing. Simple as that. So, Barney, if I come over to you,
Yep.
obviously, like Louis was saying, very entertaining first half. Did you manage to watch the game as well, mate?
I watched a bit of it. Yeah, great spectacle. I was on the edge of my seat, like Lewis was, and I just felt the game as a contest was, killed off, unfortunately, with the second yellow, which obviously you have to do. Kicking the ball away, it's a yellow card. But the second half, Arsenal sort of mounted what I call a brilliant rearguard display. I thought, really sort of classic sort of defense, proper. And I thought, are they going to hold out here? Are they going to hold out here for a win? But it's Man City, and they always seem to find a way, don't they? It's very frustrating. I know you won't let me hear that. It's Arsenal. You probably would have been cheering that goal, but I did feel sorry for them. I really did. Obviously, we got a game with them coming up, so I was watching that as well. But yeah, it was a really, really entertaining game. I enjoyed that.
Exactly. And obviously, within that game, it did end in 2-2, but there was a lot of controversy. So, like Louis said, with the yellow card to get Trossard sent off for the ball kicking, a lot of extra time. I mean, I I don't think Arsenal really played in that second half. If anything, they definitely
No, I mean,
shut up
it was
shop
always
a
going to
lot.
happen, though, wasn't it? It was actually, I was about to I was bashing my head against the wall because it was the most frustrating thing ever. Watching probably the best attacking side in the Premier League with Man City not being able to break down that bust down. Honestly, it was so frustrating as a fan, as a Spurs fan. I'm sure because it is so. And as a City fan, literally any neutral though watching it because it was boring for them. But for someone like me, who just wants City to win that game or at least get a point from it, and that chance to watch them just not be able to do anything because the whole 10 men of Arsenal were just headering and booting everything out was so annoying.
I think I saw a stat where City had like over 200 touches in the Arsenal half.
Yeah, about 3.
Yeah, and literally, yeah, Arsenal had 2 or 3 in the City half in the last 45 minutes. So it was definitely interesting. But Luke, I want to come to you. So obviously, in the was it 90 plus 8th minute that Arsenal did finally concede to City, and it was a lot of extra time. It was only meant to be 90 plus 7, but there was the incident where John Stones gets up, scores from a header, and then Haaland throws the ball at Gabriel's head as well. Did you see that, and what's your thoughts on it, mate?
I think that if Arsenal fans are complaining about the amount of time added on, then they just need to look at how many times they squared up to the City players and then wonder, oh, that time, that accumulates. That then probably goes to an extra minute over the time that I was actually added on in the first place. So stoppages don't just come out of nowhere. They are manufactured during the actual game, and your team participate within that game. So there's that. I think Haaland and the throwing the ball at Gabriel just get out of the way. Like they're trying to get the ball back to the halfway line. I just think whatever. The goal itself from Stones, brilliant. I actually also thought you won't give them credit because you're a Spurs fan, Kallum, but Calafiori's goal was brilliant as well to
Oh,
watch.
it was. I wanted Calafiori at Spurs when he was linked this summer. So I definitely think he's had a very good Euros, and that goal against City was outstanding. I'm never going to bat away from that, and it doesn't matter if he is an Arsenal player. He is a good player. So I will say that, yeah, very good goal. In agreement with you, mate.
I think, for all intents and purposes, they went out. They tried to block it up, Arsenal, but again, they just squared up to too many City players, and the time just got added on, and they couldn't hold out for the time that was on the boards and that was accumulated. And you just got to play till the whistle until it finally goes, and they couldn't manage that with the 10 man. Because I'd be looking at Trossard kicking the ball into the next stadium because like that was a silly decision to do and ultimately cost them 3 points.
Exactly, that's the thing. So I mean, Arsenal did hold on. They didn't hold on, but they did come away with a point at the Etihad. I mean, if they want to learn how to win at the Etihad, then they do need to ask Spurs how to do it, because we can give them
say that.
we can give them a manual or two. But no, it was definitely one of the most interesting games, and I think the more interesting games probably were on Sunday in terms of the two fixtures that were there compared to Saturday. But let's wrap it up for the review, and let's do a quick overview of the coming weekend, if you guys are up for that. What do you think?
Yep.
Do 20, 30 minutes, maybe maximum on reviews. We'll do a couple of minutes here and there, see what everyone's thoughts are, get some score
I mean,
prediction.
I've only been here 5 minutes. I could go for another hour, but I mean, you guys probably got places to be. Yeah,
Yeah, my bed's calling me. I'll just jump over. I'll just go and lay on my bed if you want. You guys can keep talking. I'll just keep it running. It'd be wonderful. But no, so is there any Friday? No, there's no Friday night fixtures because it is Luton versus Plymouth. So that's a cracking game
What
if
a
you want to go
game.
and watch that.
I will
Jesus
be there.
Christ. It's
I
all
will be
right.
there.
Barney, who was the geezer that we was on with last year on the Premier League shows? Who was a Luton fan? That was Steps, was it?
Stepsy, yeah.
Yeah, we could always send Stepsy a message, see what his thoughts are on that. But we'll see how we go, how he's sitting down there. And Plymouth, Spurs kind of know him. We had a couple of loanies down there last year. They weren't great. Let's put it that way. So Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. Man City travel to St James's Park. And do City come back with a win, or do Newcastle end their rut that they're in and give City a game, or do they get absolutely trounced on? So, Barney, I'll come to you first. What's your thoughts on this one, mate?
Well, having seen Newcastle quite recently, and sort of I know quite a few Newcastle fans. I work with one. I think the result that they had against us was peppering over the cracks. That's what I've been told. That's what Newcastle fans have told me it was coming. And I think any realistic Newcastle fan, obviously being at St James's Park, you want to put on a show for the home fans, right? That's first and foremost. But this is Man City here. Let's be honest, they're a completely different animal. I think they will go there, Man City, and just want to sort of put on a show. I think Newcastle will be up for it. Yeah, they all want to try and respond after their defeat against us at the weekend, but I think Man City will have too much for them. Haaland just looks unplayable, when he's playing. He's scary. So I think if you ask me for a prediction, I'm going
let's go for it.
Okay, 3-1 City win.
3-1 City. Okie dokie. Louis, what are you thinking prediction-wise for this one, mate?
I mean, before I talk about any predictions, all I say is I feel really bad for City here because they played 4:30 against Arsenal. 48 hours later, they played against Watford, and now they're their first game of this Premier League weekend. It's probably got a feel for them a bit. I think they're not scheduling wise; they're getting a bit hard done by. But no, I think
most of it's TV money, isn't it? Because they're always going to be on TV. So that's probably what their owners do want. And it's why they've got, i.e., a squad capable of doing that to be able to field probably a better start. Probably their bench could outrule at least maybe 5 or 6 of each of our team's players right now, couldn't they? They could just straight go, right, we'll go from City to Fulham to Forest to Spurs, and they'll be better than half the players that we've got. And that's just their bench. So I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be all right, and I think they're just going to win. I mean, let's be honest. I don't think I can't really see anything but a City win. I think City are too good, and I think it could be. I think it could be like 4-0 City. I think it could be a bit of a battering.
Okay. Luke, do you concur with Barney and Louis? Do you think it's going to be a City win, or do you think Newcastle can hold their backs and maybe hit them on the counter-attack?
Unfortunately, I just see far too many holes within the Newcastle defence, so I've just gone with a 3-0 City win.
Okie dokie. So we come up to our first 3:00 one, and that is a lovely game for Leicester travelling down to somewhere which shouldn't be in North London, but turns out it is in North London. Don't know how it ended up there. Maybe on the back of a truck somewhere. Hopefully it gets taken south the river where they belong. But so we'll go to the sunny Emirates where Leicester Arsenal had their 3:00 kickoff. So I won't come to Louis on this one because he's probably got the same views as me. So let's go to Luke. What's your thoughts on this game, mate?
I think that Arsenal will have way too much for Leicester. I think Leicester and Steve Cooper are playing exactly like Steve Cooper set Nottingham Forest up to play like. They are showing the exact same vulnerabilities. They are showing the exact same ball retention. And they are showing the exact same coming back late on in games to score late goals. It's literally a blueprint I could literally have written for the Leicester fans before the appointment was done, and it's showing itself right now. So if you're asking me for a prediction, probably 4-0 Arsenal.
Okay, so Leicester are definitely going to, in your opinion, get their pants pulled down by Arsenal. So, Barney, do you concur with that, or do you think Leicester have got a bit about them to put Arsenal on their back foot?
I've seen Leicester also play against us this season, and I certainly don't see them challenging Arsenal. To be honest, I think I agree with Luke. Just Arsenal, I think, was too superior in defence and attack. It's just a case of I think how many they'll score. So I think on this occasion, I'm going for a 3-0 Arsenal win.
Okie dokie. So, Louis, obviously, we haven't had good experience with Leicester this season.
Yeah.
We're the only team that have made them look any good because we fell into that blueprint. Do you think that they can show Arsenal up like they did us, or do you think realistically it's going to be an Arsenal pummeling?
Yeah, let's be honest, it is going to be an Arsenal pummeling because, I mean, I could have written it. I knew exactly as soon as we got Leicester away, this August, or I can't remember when the fixtures got released, but I remember, I think it was in June. As soon as that happened, I already knew it was going to be a draw, and I knew it was going to happen. And I always knew. I feel like Leicester probably will go down this season, although they probably got better hopes than maybe like. I can't even remember who's come up now. But,
Southampton and Ipswich, mate.
Yeah. Southampton are going down, unfortunately. But I feel like Leicester have probably got the best chances of survival because I feel like their squad is probably it's not a bad squad they've got, but as Luke has touched on, the way they're going to play this season, the way they're going to set up, is going to the teams in the top 10 are just going to go there with their attacking threat will probably just heavily. The team like Arsenal will just go there and probably batter them, unfortunately, and that's probably 11. I don't think they've won yet this season, and so that's probably not going to change. So unfortunately, I feel probably going to be about Arsenal 4-0.
Okay. So let's move on to our first London derby. Well, I think it's the only London derby. Let's move on to our London derby for this weekend. We've got Brentford versus West Ham at Brentford. So, Barney, they are local neighbours of you, Brentford, down there on nice SW postcodes. What are you thinking, mate? Do you think it's a Brentford win, or do you think West Ham can recover after getting killed by Chelsea?
I think West Ham are too shell-shocked after that result. I think Brentford are a side I think are managed really well by and I just think they've got too much of West Ham. I think basically, yeah, West Ham were killed by Chelsea. I cannot see them going to Brentford's ground and putting up what I call a fight worthy of winning a football match. I think Brentford, have adapted very well this season in certain situations. I think, yeah, not great at times, but then we haven't been great at times. All teams have up and downs. I'm going for, let's have a think, 2-1 Brentford, I think.
Okay. Louis, I'll bring you in on this one. Obviously, our lovely East London rivals, as they like to always come across in West Ham. Do you think they can recover, or do you think Brentford will recover after losing to us at the weekend?
I actually think that has the potential to be one of the best games of the weekend because I think there's two teams that are coming off the bad defeats. Really, two teams are coming off. So the London rivals as well. I mean, they both just played London rivals. They both lost. So I think it's a time for both teams to really come and show how they can bounce back. And I mean, I thought after West Ham's summer, a few weeks ago, I was raving about their summer transfer business and how good it was, and that I was a bit worried about how good they could be this season, but Lopetegui hasn't got it going yet, and maybe I didn't factor in the new manager. They've only got one win this season. But no, exactly, I think this will be a good. I feel this will be a good game. But I like Thomas Frank a lot. I think he's a great manager, and I think he's done brilliantly at Brentford. So this game, I think it'll be really tight, and I'll agree with Barney. I think it's going to be 2-1 Brentford.
Okay. Luke, what are you thinking? West Ham win, Brentford win, boring draw, or someone's really going to end up crying at the weekend?
I personally just think that Brentford is going to beat West Ham. If there's that many gaps in the back line for West Ham, Visa's going to be all over that. I don't think West Ham have got enough of a spark going forward, so I've gone for a 2-0 Brentford.
Wonderful. Okie dokie. Let's move. Well, we'll stay in West London, but we will go to Stamford Bridge, where Chelsea and the original Brighton scouting team are playing the existing Brighton management team and scouting team. So let's have a look. Yeah, I'll go to Barney again. West London, obviously your favourite rivals in Chelsea. There's only a park that divides you guys until they buy that park and buy Craven Cottage and build a new hotel there and a multiplex cinema.
They wish. They wish.
What do you think? Do you think this is going to be Chelsea continuing their winning streak, or do you think this will be one where Brighton can actually give them a good game and hold them out?
Brighton will give them a good game because I've said this since the beginning of the season. I like Brighton. I just like the way they play, and they're always capable of getting a result out of nothing. And they just play football the right way. And I think Chelsea also, when we're not thereabouts. I mean, it pains me to say this as a Fulham fan, but I just think they look really good at the moment, begrudgingly. And they've put on some really tantalising displays this season. I've been really impressed, especially with their goal count and players like Cole Palmer, who I'll never take out my FPL, quite frankly. I can only see one result here, and I'm going for 2-0 Chelsea win.
Okie dokie. So, Luke, I'll come over to you, mate. Obviously, Chelsea are in a resurgence. Brighton are off the back of their draw with you guys up at the Forest. Well, playing against Forest. They are managerless as well for the weekend, unless it can be turned over by Thursday. I think the deadline is 12 o'clock to make an appeal for it as well. They will be without a manager. Do you think there's enough with Brighton to give Chelsea a game, or do you think they will be rudderless and Chelsea will storm it?
Yeah, I think that Brighton will give Chelsea a game. I think there is enough tightness there to make it competitive. I've actually gone for a 1-1 draw in this one. I think that Chelsea will be frustrated by Brighton's play, and Brighton will nick a goal somewhere, but then will probably also concede. Yeah, I'll go for a 1-1.
Okay. So, Louis, I'm just going to go for prediction from you, mate, because I know me and you could end up on a rant on Chelsea, and it won't be fair because we are neutrals on this game as well. So, what are you going for, mate?
2-2.
2-2. Okie dokie. Louis, I'll give you the most entertaining game of the weekend. Crystal Palace travel to Everton. What's your thoughts on this one, mate?
I feel for Everton. I do feel for Everton a lot because I do have a little bit of a soft spot for Everton. I don't really know why, but I've just always have. But yeah, well, 1 point from them from 5 games. It's not really looking too great, is it? All
Is it
doom and
because
gloom
Spurs
on
always give them good players and we get bad players back like Stephen Pienaar and Richarlison, people like that?
I don't think it is. I think it's I don't know. I mean, I think one thing I've always liked because Everton was so good towards the end of last season, they got so many good results in, and they were defensively solid, but they conceded 14 in 5 games. So I think the thing about defensively solid has kind of gone out the window, hasn't it? So I mean, Palace have yet to win, and I'm quite surprised about that because I really liked what was happening with Glasner towards the end of last season. I thought he did a great job. But Palace is still yet to win, and I've only got 3 points from having 3 draws. But I do think they will get their first win, and they'll beat Everton.
They didn't exactly lose all the players that people thought they would, did they, in the summer? They didn't lose Eze, they didn't lose Walton, they didn't lose Mateta, but they did.
They didn't, but it was
they did
Elise
lose
is a big blow. It's a
Elise
massive blow.
and Joachim Anderson as well.
Yeah, two big blows.
Yeah, so they did keep some, but they lost some, didn't they, as well? So obviously, Luke, you're more northern than most of us, closer to Everton, if you do live in Nottingham. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the Everton Palace game, mate?
Everton love to concede goals, but will also score goals. And Everton will probably take the lead. They'll probably then double their lead, and still end up losing. So I've just gone for the most predictable Everton scoreline of the season. I'm going for a 3-2.
Hey! Okie dokie. Barney, what are you thinking? Are you going 3-2 to Palace? Do you think they got enough about them, or do you think Everton can actually hold on and maybe get a draw at least?
I did actually genuinely fear for Palace when they sort of sold us Anderson. I thought, are they going to lose one of their talisman at the back? I thought, how are they going to respond to that? But they kept Eze, as you say, and they got something about them. I like their manager, and I fear this is going to be Everton's year. I'm saying it now to be relegated. There, I've said it.
To be honest, I said that. I've said that every year last 5 years.
Exactly, mate. Exactly, Lewis. I don't see them getting anything at this game, so I'm going for a 2-1 Palace win.
So they'll probably have the biggest stadium in the Championship. They're just being bought by a freaking group as well if it goes through from Roma, and they'll have a hell of a lot of debt, a new stadium, and they'll be playing lovely games all the way, any night of the week in the Championship. So it's wonderful.
Recipe for success, isn't it? Recipe for success.
The recipe for success was not to have blinking their rubbish chairman and having a revolving door moment of directors of football and managers who weren't doing it. And I like Sean Dyche. I think he's a good manager. I know he doesn't play the greatest of football, but he's guaranteed if you back him to at least give you stability. And the problem is Everton are such a badly run club at the moment that they are suffering from administration problems for it. But we do travel for another 3:00 kickoff for two of my gracious co-hosts, not to the Nottingham Forest ground. We do have one team with no manager again, and we have one team off the back of a 3-1 win against Newcastle. So, gentlemen, who wants to come in first?
Luke, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, seems only 30 with the home side. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the replacement for Gibbs White. Honestly, every time we've played in our home kit so far, it's been a draw. So it'd be glaringly obvious to do that again. But I actually want to be positive. I'm going to go for my buzz prediction of 2-1 as a 2-1 win. I think we'll concede. It's the Forest way. We tend to like to concede a goal somewhere along the way, giving teams presence. But I do think that we'll have enough to get at the Fulham back line enough times to hopefully win the game.
Okie dokie. Barney, do you echo them thoughts, or do you think Luke is just blowing smoke up in the air because they've got no manager?
Right. No, I think part and part what you're saying is true. I think both sides will concede because, quite frankly, that's been the bane of my life this season. We just don't seem to be able to keep clean sheets. And
welcome to Spurs for the last
exactly
17 months.
And I think genuinely, and I mean this seriously, Anderson is a terrific defender. I mean, he should have been player of the match. I think Emil Smith-Rowe got it because all the Arsenal fans voted for him. He was brilliant. His long balls, his authority, his distribution. Yeah, he's still, bedding into that position, and it's going to take time. Obviously, going on from Diop to him, and that sort of Bassi back line needs to kind of, gel, if you like. I think both sides will concede, yes, but I think we can actually get something. So I'm going for 2-2.
Okie dokie. Lovely stuff. What are you going for, Louis?
I don't know what to say because I've got two fans from each club. I don't really want to get hated by one of them.
Just do a prediction of 2-2 then, mate. It'll go down all right.
I was going to say that as well. No, because I think it'll be a great game. I mean, two teams, both 8th and 9th. Forest haven't lost a game yet. Both teams doing quite brilliantly, I think, to be honest. So I think, to be completely honest, I think 2-2 is probably actually a fair result as well. So we'll go in the middle, 2-2.
Okie dokie, mate. Lovely stuff. Right, so final game of the day. It is a travel to Molineux for Liverpool. They are, one team off the back of a 3-0 win, one team off the back of a 3-1 loss as well. So, Barney, Liverpool trouncing or Wolves rearguard action comes to save the day?
I'm actually going to go for a surprise prediction here. I think Liverpool have been brilliant, as we know. I mean, their midfield it's absolutely class. I mean, they can just turn on the displays, and they were brilliant in their previous game. I really enjoyed that. Wolves again are capable of springing a surprise or two. I like the way they play, and I think being at home, I don't know. I might regret to say this, but I fancy them just to sort of 1-1. There we go. I just think they can. I think they can get something, and it will spring a
Okay.
surprise.
Louis, do you echo that, or do you think Liverpool will give Wolves a hiding? What do you think?
I think Liverpool will give Wolves a hiding. I mean, I don't know. I feel a bit weird because I don't know. I mean, I don't think Wolves would be this poor coming into this season. I thought they'd definitely be sitting probably safety. I thought they'll definitely survive again. I didn't really see relegation as a sort of a possibility for Wolves, so to speak, a couple months ago. But only 1 point, and they've lost 4. I think coming up against the Liverpool team, I think this could be another poor day for Wolves fans. I think it's going to be about, I'd say 2-0 to Liverpool for me.
Okay. Luke, do you echo what the guys are saying? Either a draw, a Liverpool loss? Can you give Wolves some hope, or is there no hope and they might as well just not even turn up to the game?
I think it'll be a close game. I think Wolves will definitely make it compact enough in midfield. I think they'll score, but I can't say that they'll get anything from the game apart from the solitary consolation goal. So I'm going to go for a 2-1.
Okay. A little bit of an interesting twist on that. Do you think that they will score from a set piece or a Liverpool mistake? Because I know the Liverpool backline does have a mistake in it as they are getting older. Do you think it'll be just merely a consolation, or do you think it'll actually be a good goal?
I personally think it'll be a pressing goal where you press them around, a bit similar to the Wolves goal they scored against Villa, where they press it round and someone just takes a strike from distance and it just goes under the keeper.
Okie dokie. So we're all going losses or draws for that one. So that should be an interesting 5:30 kickoff for that one on Saturday. So that is the end of the Saturday game. So 4:00, Aston Villa travel down from the Midlands to go to the nice sunny seaside town of Ipswich to Portland. Is it Portland Road or Kenilworth Road?
That is Portman Road, isn't it?
Portman Road. So obviously that's going to be an interesting one. It's who wants to come in on that one? Because I don't think
I'll have a
anyone.
go.
Yeah, go for it, Lee. What you got?
All right, I'll tell you right now. It'll be 1-1 at half time.
Yep.
I'll tell you that. And then about the 60th minute, guess who's limbering up on the touchline? It's none other than Joan Duran. And guess what happens 5 minutes later? He hits one from 30 yards and it goes in. And it'll be 2-1 Aston Villa. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. I generally, how many goals has he scored? And he's been a substitute every single time. I don't know.
Yeah, he must be on, like, for the last 2 seasons, about 8 sub goals and all that. And I mean, he is a class player, but he doesn't really he's like the glamorous super sub that you hope for and all that. And he's still young as well. He can develop into a good striker. So, I mean, Barney, are you of the same thought as Louis? Do you think it's going to be a Villa win, or do you think Ipswich can actually do something and maybe sneak a surprise one?
I'm actually going for Louis on this as well. I think it'll just be a tight game. Ipswich being at home will want to put on a show for the fans. I actually don't see them scoring in this one. I think it'll be a tight 1-0 Villa win with Duran off the bench. Yeah, that's what I think. So 1-0 away win.
Luke, any different thoughts on this one, or do you think Ipswich will continue not to get winning points?
I can bet at this. It'll be 0-0 to the 70th minute. Then Neil Maupay and John Duran come on, and it will finish 3-1 to Villa.
So if I rub my head like a mystic ball, what do we think? Can we start seeing the future in it, or am I just full of crap? I think I'm going to go full of crap, to be honest. So let's move on to our 4:30 kickoff on the Sunday. the biggest game of the weekend, we have to say, the most important game. It's all been leading up to this moment. So Spurs travel all the way out to Manchester to Old Trafford for a 4:30 kickoff. I feel sorry for any of the fans having to get back from there because knowing, like the trains will stop running at whatever point to be back for work on Monday. But Louis, I've obviously got to kick it to you, mate, being a Spurs fan. So, I mean, is this our time to go back and win at Old Trafford? The United come back and recover? Where do we stand on this one?
I think if I wanted to play United at Old Trafford, I think this is probably one of the best times we could probably have them. To be honest, I mean, I'm not no disrespect to them, but they're on the same point as us. They're on the exact same record as us: two wins, a draw, and 2 losses. So it's really even going into this game. I think if we obviously we got playing Europa League tomorrow, I think they're playing tonight. Obviously, if we were to win tomorrow night, obviously we've won now, 3 on the bounce. If that was to be the case, and then I think the pressure that Ange was probably under for about a week or 2 has probably died down after that. And I think our players would be in a sort of a mood to go out there, and we need 3 points from this game. We've had quite a poor start to the season. Anyone could say that, and I think this is a great time to play United. Do I think we'll win is probably something else, because I know United always like to play like prime Barcelona when we turn up. So I think it'll probably be a 1-1 draw.
Okay. Luke, what's your thoughts, mate? Do you think United will play as they did against Palace at the weekend? Do you think Spurs might catch them on the counter, play very good football? Do you think United, Rashford will have his resurgence and get 4 on the day and become the next prime striker for England again? What do you think?
Manchester United will be very Manchester United, as they've been for about the last 5 years. That's mediocre, by the way, for anybody who didn't know. So I think I'm going to definitely go for a 3-0 Spurs win.
What? Okay. Then much better.
Okay. Good lad.
I'll
Good
take
lad.
that.
Barney, are you backing Luke or are you backing Louis on this one, or has Harry already paid you off to say some good stuff on it?
I've not actually talked to Harry at all about this game, so I'm going to give my just neutral opinion. Spurs will be riding high after the win against Brentford. Manchester United, I'm afraid I just do not see them at the moment as a side who can consistently string results together. I think Spurs will be up for this. So in that respect, I'm actually going for a 2-1 Spurs win.
I love that.
I mean, obviously, what we do have between there and now, United are playing tonight against FC Twente, and we've got Karabag tomorrow night as well. So I definitely think there'll be some input from that. There'll probably be some tired legs because United are playing at home. Luckily, we are playing at home as well, but that's going to be a difficult one for us. So I think that could have an impact on the game, and I'd probably go with Louis, maybe a draw, to be honest. And that's from Spurs fans being never positive as always. So our final game for match day 6 or match weekend 6 is a nice Monday night travel down to the south coast. We're travelling to Bournemouth. Southampton are coming up on the coastal road. There no rivalry at all there because Portsmouth are in the middle, and that goes down well. But I'm going to come to Barney on this one. Bournemouth, Southampton. Obviously, a Monday night kickoff, mate. Everyone hates them. They aren't nice. 8 o'clock kickoffs are horrendous. But who do you think is going to take this one, and what are your thoughts on the game?
I'm actually going to say I like 8 o'clock kickoffs and break with the mould, but I know what you mean. From a player's point of view, it's the travelling, isn't it? It's the fans getting to places. I think Bournemouth will want a response. I think they'll be fired up being at home. Southampton, I just I'd be disappointed with Kallum, to be honest. 1 point from 5. You expect the home side to sort of take the lead here, and I think Bournemouth will press ahead. So I can only see a Bournemouth win here, and I'm going for a 2-0 win to Bournemouth.
Okie dokie. Luke, are you going to go for a Bournemouth win, Southampton win? Can you not be bothered to even watch it on a Monday night? Who knows?
I mean, this will be spoken about and built up for a little bit with the closeness of the two sides, and it's the one that's been left till last for a reason. And I've not predicted this scoreline yet, so I feel like I'm going to do it for this one. 0-0.
Okie dokie. Louis, do you echo Luke? Do you follow Barney's line? Where do you lie, mate?
I mean, Monday night footballs is probably the most depressing thing I think anyone could do. I've always hated it because I mean, I don't know why, but if someone ever says to me, "Do you know who's playing Monday night football?" I always probably just think Everton v Burnley because I just think it's so depressing. It's just so boring. I'll be honest. As much as I love watching football, I do love it. I just can't stand them. Monday night football is horrific, and it's probably because you'll never see a game like Man City Arsenal on a Monday night, would you? But I think Bournemouth will have too much for Southampton. I do like Bournemouth a lot. I think Iriola's doing some good work down there, and although they probably just did when they're coming off that big loss against Liverpool, I think they'll bounce back at home. I think they'll turn a 3-0 loss into a 3-0 win.
Okie dokie, lovely stuff. So obviously that wraps us up for Matchday 5 review, Matchday 6 preview. So thanks very much to everyone tonight, including Billy, Louis being a gracious replacement for him.
90 minutes up.
Harry giving me, Barney and Luke the opportunity to come on as well. So let's go around the houses. So obviously, thanks very much to Billy for coming on. Obviously, go and follow him on Twitter and X and all the other platforms for that. So Luke, thanks very much for tonight, mate. It's great to have a Forest fan on to get your views on a lot of very interesting stuff from Matchday 5 and also to see how you guys are going to do on Matchday 6. And thanks very much for the Brennan Johnson bit as well. I really enjoyed that as well, mate. So where can everyone find you tonight?
Yes, so I have my own YouTube channel, Turton Talks Football. Search it out if you've not already. I'm also on Twitter at Luke18652110. I believe that's the right way around. If not, it's the other way around. And yeah, they're the main two that I tend to now promote. So yeah.
Lovely stuff, mate. Thanks very much. And Barney, obviously, this is becoming a regular for me and you coming on Harry's Premier League shows. The same with last year and with this year as well. So thanks very much as always, mate. Where can everyone find you?
It's a pleasure, mate. Thank you. You can find me on Twitter or X at Ambrose Barnaby. I'm there pretty much all the time, usually talking about Fulham and sort of posting random Fulham pictures and gifts. But thank you, all you guys. It's been great to chat to you this evening. Thank you, Harry, for inviting me into your channel, and look forward to doing this again soon.
Lovely stuff. And Louis, obviously Harry's right-hand man on the admin side of stuff, at least behind the keyboard. So thanks for coming on to back me up as well with Barney. So and with Luke and taking over from Billy. So where can everyone find you, mate?
Yeah, just Romero 17 season on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. I'm not on there that much, to be honest, so follow it if you want. But I mean, if there's a page you should follow, it is Scarface Spurs Talk, because I'm there a lot, doing loads of posts for Harry, which I've really enjoyed doing for the last couple of months, and hope that goes a long way into the future.
No, that's brilliant, mate. Obviously, if people want to find me, you can find me at Kallum Stubbs 97 on X. I do podcast for Park Lane podcast as well. You can find us on Sunday nights. You can sometimes find us on Wednesday nights as well. And obviously, with Harry being part of our team as well and working with him. So it's been great. Obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe to Scarfy Spurs Talk. Go and follow Harry on Twitter or X as well. Like and subscribe. Don't forget to vote for him in the Football Content Awards as well, which is coming up soonish. I'm sure all of us have got our votes in. Not for him.
Done yet?
Yeah, all done.
Oh, okay.
No, I have. Don't
Well
worry.
done.
Don't worry. I have. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow everyone on X, and have a good evening, everyone. And bring on Matchday 6.